All right, so I'm going to tell you about a time that I had to be assertive in a resident conflict, in a client conflict. As you know, I work in an activities department, and there's this particular resident. He's a great addition to the residents that come out. I love when he comes out. He's just fun to be around. He helps others all the time. He is just a great addition, and I thank him all the time when he comes out. I thank him every time before he leaves. And this particular time, we had just finished bingo. I had, 15 residents sitting at a table, and he was angry that he didn't win anything that day. He just didn't have the card, didn't call the right numbers, stuff like that. He just didn't win that day, and he got very frustrated, and he asked me, originally he just asked me, why am I leaving? He asked me why he was leaving with nothing, and I said, that it just wasn't your day, it didn't happen, the numbers weren't right, the numbers weren't called that you needed, basically. With that, he got very frustrated. He stood up out of his chair and kind of asserted his, tried to take a stance. He tried to take the power stance, but I'm not supposed to let him stand. He is not supposed to be standing whenever there's not supervision around. And with that, I had to say, I need you to sit back down. And he knows the rules, so he did sit back down. But he kind of still felt like he had that power. So with that, he started getting, he started getting more angry. He started cussing and just throwing a tantrum, basically. And he started saying things like, why do you make the rules? You aren't old enough, blah, blah, blah. Just things that just were, hurtful. He started using cuss words at me, towards me. With that, I kind of drew the line. There's a time when people are just angry and just frustrated at the situation, and they're kind of talking out and throwing a tantrum at the situation. But then he started throwing the tantrum at me personally, and I wasn't okay with that. So, I looked at him and I said, I don't appreciate that language. I don't appreciate cussing. If you're going to continue to act this way, I'm going to ask you to leave. And he continued on, and we went back and forth, only once or twice. But the back and forth consisted of, oh, you consider this a cuss word, or this is a cuss word to you, and that's just dumb. And he would say something like stuff like that. And again, still hurtful and just not needed. So for the safety of the other residents, I said, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I do not feel comfortable with you being here right now. I would love for you to come out later when you've had a chance to calm down. But until then, I'm going to have to ask you to leave because I'm worried that something's going to happen. I'm worried that you're going to try and do something to me or to another resident, and I can't have that right now. That was basically the end. He wheeled away. He went to his room and relaxed in his room. A couple hours later, he forgot what he did, but he wasn't completely forgetful. He did come back and apologize. But he forgot the little details. He forgot that, I didn't like the cuss words. He forgot that kind of stuff. So that kind of stuff has come up again recently since then. But every time he does it, I say, I don't appreciate those words. I can't have them around right now. And when he throws another tantrum, I say, if it's going to be like this, if it's going to be this way, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And I continue to do that to stand my ground and to help and to keep those around me safe. So that was a time that I had to be assertive. In the future, if it ever comes up again, I don't think I'm going to do anything different. I do take into account that he is an elder of mine. It's very hard for me sometimes to have to be assertive towards them. But on top of it, I am the one in charge. So I have to stand my ground. I can't just let him get away with those things. And there are rules that the center themselves, the senior center themselves have. So the whole the whole business has that same rule. You can't be unruly, you can't be rude, just stuff like that. So I have to put him in his place, and I wouldn't change that ever. And as it continues, if it ever comes up again, I would do the same thing every day. So that's about it. All right. Thank you.